Here's a hard truth no dealership will put on a brochure. Some of the most high-tech cars on the road today are less cutting-edge innovation and more mechanical heartbreak with Bluetooth. Sure, they look like something out of a sci-fi movie packed with screens, sensors, and AI that supposedly knows you better than your own mother, but wait until the warranty expires. That's when your mechanic starts texting you holiday wishes. In this video, we're going to break down a few of these beautiful money pits. The Volkswagen Phaeton, the automotive equivalent of ordering filet mignon from a fast food menu. It's a car that dared to ask, what if a Volkswagen cost as much as a BMW 7 Series may but looked like a Passat? And somehow, the answer was both brilliant and financially disastrous. Let's peel back the very luxurious, very expensive layers of this underappreciated German tank. First off, yes, the design. From the outside, the Phaeton looks fine. Conservative, maybe too much so. It was intentionally designed not to stand out because Volkswagen didn't want to step on the toes of its corporate cousins at Audi, Porsche, or Bentley. The result? A car that blends into traffic like your accountant at a rock concert. But inside? That's where the Phaeton flexes. Think of it as a Bentley with a Volkswagen badge. Because, surprise, it actually shares components with the Bentley Continental Flying Spur. That means insane levels of craftsmanship. Real wood, double-pane windows, and even an air conditioning system so advanced it could maintain 4 different temperatures simultaneously without blowing air directly on any occupant. Over-engineering? Absolutely. Now, under the hood, the Phaeton offered several engines. Because why settle? In the United States, it came with 2 main options, a 4.2-liter V8 or a monstrous 6.0-liter W12 engine. The V8 cranked out 335 horsepower, which is already solid. But the W12, that beast pushed out 420 horsepower and enough torque to tow your in-laws' motorhome, twice. Paired with a 5-speed automatic and Volkswagen's 4-motion all-wheel drive, the Phaeton glides like a hovercraft. A very thirsty, maintenance-needy hovercraft. Fuel economy? Brace yourself. The W12 averaged around 12 miles per gallon in the city and 19 on the highway, which is what you'd expect from a rolling luxury yacht. The V8 is a little better. Think 15 city and 22 highway, but neither variant is winning eco awards. And remember, these numbers are optimistic. Add aging components in city traffic, and you're suddenly on a first-name basis with your gas station attendant. In terms of technology, the Phaeton was ahead of its time, which is exactly why it's a nightmare today. Retractable air vents, adaptive suspension, over 100 individual control units, all of which are fine when they work. But now, 20 years later, replacing a faulty heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system in the Phaeton can cost more than a used Jetta. And finding mechanics who know how to fix a W12 engine? That's a side quest in a very expensive role-playing game. As for market reception, the Phaeton was a flop in the United States. People didn't want to spend over $70,000 on a Volkswagen, no matter how luxurious it was. It was quietly pulled from the United States market after a few short years, making it something of a cult classic today. On the used market, you can pick one up for the price of a used Civic, but you better have a healthy emergency fund or an emotional support mechanic. The Phaeton is a masterpiece of subtle excess, supremely comfortable, criminally underappreciated, and catastrophically expensive to maintain. It's not just a car, it's a lesson in what happens when a brand overreaches and builds something brilliant that almost nobody wanted. If the Volkswagen Phaeton is German over-engineering with a badge identity crisis, then the Lexus LS 600 HL is Japan's attempt to quietly drop a luxury bomb into the hybrid space, with all the refinement of a tea ceremony and the complexity of a space shuttle. This was Lexus flexing hard, trying to prove that hybrids could be as indulgent and opulent as their V12-powered rivals. Spoiler alert, it worked, until something broke. Let's start with what made the LS 600 HL so ambitious. This wasn't just any luxury sedan, it was the world's first full hybrid V8 vehicle when it launched. Under the hood, you get a 5.0-liter V8 paired with 2 electric motors, giving a combined output of 438 horsepower. The H stands for hybrid, and the L for long wheelbase, because apparently Lexus thought LS 600 HL didn't look quite intimidating enough without sounding like a motherboard code. Despite the hybrid badge, this car wasn't made for hypermiling. It was designed for whisper-quiet high-speed cruising. 0 to 60 miles per hour? Around 5.5 seconds. Not bad for a car that weighs more than some studio apartments. Fuel. Economy? Here's where things get interesting and slightly disappointing. Lexus promised eco-luxury, but the numbers didn't exactly blow anyone's loafers off. The LS 600 HL gets about 19 miles per gallon city and 23 miles per gallon highway. That's better than a standard V8-powered S-Class from the same era, but not enough to justify the price premium or complexity, unless you were deeply committed to the idea of saving the planet in quilted leather. Inside, though, it's a rolling Zen garden. You get soft-closed doors, buttery semi-aniline leather, a 19-speaker Mark Levinson sound system that could make a podcast sound like a live jazz show, and back seats that recline with massage functions and individual climate zones. Rear seat passengers basically got a first-class cabin with more buttons than a Boeing cockpit. And speaking of buttons, there are a lot. Lexus threw every available technology feature at this car. Adaptive cruise control, night vision, self-leveling, air suspension, a self-parking system, and one of the earliest iterations of a multi-display infotainment setup. All of it works beautifully, until it doesn't. Here's the catch. That hybrid system is painfully complex. The battery pack alone is notorious for being eye-wateringly expensive to replace, and while Lexus reliability is generally stellar, this particular model requires technicians trained in hybrid systems and luxury electronics. Translation? Not every garage can touch it, and the ones that can will charge you accordingly. As for market appeal, the LS 600 HL didn't exactly fly off showroom floors. It was too quiet for people who wanted flash and too expensive for traditional Lexus buyers. It was, in many ways, a flagship that sailed without a port. Today, on the used market, you can find these for a fraction of their original $100,000+ manufacturer's suggested retail price. Tempting, right? But be warned, if something big goes wrong, the cost of a single repair could match what you paid for the whole car. The LS 600 HL is the kind of car you buy if you want to impress a very specific crowd. People who know what it is, understand what it took to build it, and appreciate the irony of a hybrid that still drinks like a thirsty executive. It's refined, it's rare, and it will absolutely haunt your bank account if you're not ready for it. Alright, let's slide into our next high-tech heartbreaker, the Chevrolet Volt, specifically the first generation, 2011 through 2015. A car that was supposed to change the world, and might just change your checking account balance instead. The Volt was General Motors' electric gamble, a plug-in hybrid before plug-in hybrids were cool. From the outside, it has a futuristic, hatchback meets sedan vibe that still holds up. Sleek headlights, a bold front fascia, and a design that whispers eco-friendly without screaming it. Inside, surprisingly upscale for a Chevrolet of its time. Digital gauge cluster, touchscreen infotainment, and enough space-age plastics to make you feel like you're piloting a spacecraft. Just, with cup holders. Under the hood is where the Volt got clever. It runs primarily on electricity, powered by a 16 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery, giving you about 35 to 40 miles of electric-only range, more than enough for most commutes. When the juice runs out, a 1.4-liter gasoline engine kicks in as a generator, extending your total range to over 300 miles. You never worry about range anxiety, and if you plug it in nightly, you can drive electric almost all the time. Fuel economy? On electric power, it's rated at 98 miles per gallon equivalent. On gas alone, you get around 37 miles per gallon. Very respectable. And when the system works, it's glorious. Quiet, smooth, and cheap to operate. But here's the kicker. When it doesn't work, it's complicated as hell. The Volt's dual drivetrain system, electric motor, gas generator, high-voltage battery, complex cooling systems, makes diagnostics a nightmare. Not every mechanic is qualified to work on it, and if the battery needs replacement, prepare to pay several $1,000s, assuming you can even find one that isn't used or salvaged. The infotainment systems also age poorly, and parts can be hit or miss, especially as General Motors phases out support. Then there's the market reality. Early Volts are dirt cheap now. You can snag one for the price of a used mountain bike, but they're cheap because buyers are wary. It's a technology-heavy car that's a decade old, with battery packs approaching their twilight years. If you're lucky, it's a steal. If not, you've just bought a rolling science project. The Chevrolet Volt is still a landmark car, innovative, bold, and genuinely smart. But it's also a perfect example of how high-tech cars age. Like milk, not wine. Time to talk about a car that wears a premium badge, offers hybrid peace of mind, and still manages to make your wallet sweat. The BMW 330e, specifically the 2016 through 2018 model years. On paper, it's the best of both worlds. Luxury sports sedan meets fuel-efficient plug-in hybrid. In reality, It's more like a tug-of-war between German engineering and your local service advisor. Let's start with the appeal. The 330e looks like a classic BMW 3 Series. Clean, aggressive lines, kidney grills that haven't yet turned into nostrils, and a cabin that nails that driver-focused cockpit vibe. Inside you get leather, or high-quality leatherette, real aluminum or wood trim, iDrive infotainment, and solid technology for the time. Navigation, adaptive cruise control, and a heads-up display depending on the trim. Under the hood, the 330i combines a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-4 with an electric motor, making a combined 248 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. That's enough for 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.9 seconds. Quick enough to dust a Prius while sipping gas like a responsible adult. Electric-only range? About 14 miles, which won't change your life, but can. Cover short commutes or errands without using a drop of fuel, and the efficiency is solid. When driving in hybrid mode, the 330e returns around 31 miles per gallon combined, and with regular charging, owners have reported very low fuel usage. BMW even included a Max E-Drive mode that keeps it electric only until the battery depletes, giving you control over how and when you use fuel. Now, the caveats. And there are several. First, the complexity. You're dealing with a turbo engine, an electric motor, high-voltage battery, and all the electronics tying them together. That's double the potential failure points. Repairs aren't just expensive, they're sometimes confusing. A check engine light might mean a bad sensor, a failed module, or that the car simply had a bad dream. And guess who's uniquely trained? To interpret all that? Yep, a BMW certified technician. Battery degradation is another risk. While the pack is relatively small, replacing it outside of warranty can cost several $1,000s. And while BMW offered decent warranties, they're mostly expired on early models unless you've got an extended plan. The used market loves the 330e for its badge and technology, but resale values are all over the place. Some hold steady thanks to low mileage and full service records. Others drop hard due to reliability concerns. And since not all buyers understand hybrids, it's often treated with suspicion, like an M3 that got an MBA but forgot how to walk. So, is the BMW 330e a bad car? Not at all. It's fun, efficient, and packed with features, but it's also a German hybrid with luxury repair costs and a PhD in electrical complexity. Translation: your mechanic's eyes will light up, and not just from the diagnostics screen. Let's wrap our hands around another sneaky little money pit that disguises itself as a futuristic commuter's dream. The Fiat 500e cute? Absolutely. Quiet? Yep. Affordable to buy used? You bet. But this all-electric jelly bean is also a shining example of how low entry cost doesn't always mean low long-term cost. The 500e was Fiat's compliance car, built to meet California's zero-emissions mandate rather than to conquer the electric vehicle world. In fact, former Fiat Chrysler Chief Executive Officer Sergio Marchionne famously begged people not to buy it because the company reportedly lost thousands of dollars on every unit sold. So of course they sold just enough to check the legal boxes and left the real headaches to you. Design-wise, the 500e is adorable. It looks like a caffeinated golf cart wearing Italian sunglasses. The bumpers are reshaped. The wheels are aerodynamic, and there's a little E badge on the side to let everyone at Whole Foods know you're part of the future. Inside, it's surprisingly refined for its size. Leatherette seats, a 7-inch thin-film transistor display, Uconnect infotainment, and enough retro charm to make you forget that it's technically a Fiat. Now, power. A single electric motor produces 111 horsepower and 147 pound-feet of torque, sent to the front wheels through a single-speed reduction gear. It's zippy in the city. Off-the-line torque gives it a fun, almost go-kart feel. The battery is a 24 kilowatt-hour unit, offering an Environmental Protection Agency rated range of 84 miles. In 2013, that was decent. In 2025, it's borderline unusable for anything outside urban errands. Charging takes about 4 hours on a level 2 setup. There's no fast charging support. You heard that right. If you're low on juice and don't have access to a level 2 station, you're basically camping with an extension cord. But the biggest red flag? Parts and service. The 500e was never widely supported outside California and Oregon, so availability of components, especially battery modules and drivetrain electronics, is spotty at best. Many owners report long waits for parts, sky-high repair, quotes, and dealerships that barely remember they ever sold the thing. Plus, as Fiat quietly backed out of the United States market, support only got worse. On the used market, the 500e is temptingly cheap. Like, did someone mislabel this? Cheap. You can find decent models under $10,000, and some for half that. But once that battery starts losing range or a charger module gives out, you're looking at replacement costs that far exceed the value of the car. Mechanics aren't necessarily thrilled to work on it either, unless they've got a soft spot for orphaned electric vehicles. So yes, the Fiat 500e is fun, funky, and electric. But behind that cute exterior is a discontinued model with limited support, no fast charging, and parts that are harder to find than a parking spot in Manhattan. Your mechanic might not thank you, but your tow truck driver definitely will. Next, up, a car that promised high-tech innovation, sporty flair, and Toyota reliability, and somehow still ended up on this financial watch list, the Scion TC, especially the second generation, 2011 through 2016. At first glance, this sporty coupe looks like the automotive equivalent of a cool older cousin. Slick styling, decent performance, and just enough technology to make you feel like you upgraded from your college beater. But dig a little deeper, and things get expensive in subtle ways. The TC was part of Toyota's experiment with Scion, a brand aimed at younger drivers who wanted affordable style with personalization options. And the second generation TC delivered just that, a wide, aggressive grille, 18-inch alloy, wheels, panoramic glass roof, yes, even back then, and a hatchback profile that gave it surprisingly good cargo space. Inside, it featured sporty bucket seats, a Pioneer touchscreen sound system with Bluetooth, and optional bespoke navigation, which sounded fancy but aged like yogurt in the sun. Power came from a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine making 179 horsepower and 172 pound-feet of torque, paired with either a 6-speed manual or automatic. It wasn't fast, but it had enough punch to feel lively in city driving. Fuel economy? About 23 miles per gallon city and 31 miles per gallon highway. Not bad, not amazing, just fine. Now, here's where things get tricky. Mechanically, the engine is solid. It's essentially a Camry motor, so you're not dealing with a hand grenade under the hood. But what you are dealing with is a series of tech and design quirks that can nickel and dime you. For one, the panoramic roof has been known to rattle or leak over time. The door panels, infamously creaky. The touchscreens, slow and prone to freezing. And the interior materials, while sporty looking, don't exactly age gracefully, especially if you live somewhere with harsh sun or humidity. Then there's the suspension. It's sport-tuned, which sounds great on paper, until you start replacing bushings, struts, and sway bar links more often than you'd like, especially if the previous owner thought sporty meant rallying over potholes. And unlike a Corolla or Civic, replacement parts for the TC aren't quite as abundant or cheap, particularly for some of the unique body and technology features. Oh, and let's not forget Scion itself no longer exists. While Toyota still services the TC, support has definitely cooled off, especially for bespoke infotainment components, which are basically unfixable now unless you swap the whole unit. So if you're drawn in by the aggressive styling, Toyota. Bloodline and bargain pricing, just remember, the Scion TC can be a fun little coupe, but it's also one of those cars that shows its age in weird, expensive ways. Your mechanic won't complain because they'll see you more often than they would if you just bought the Camry.